Testing. 1, 2. Testing. Testing. 1, 2. 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 Testing. Testing. 1, 2. It's 8:34. Meeting starts at 9 o'clock. Testing. 1, 2. 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 Testing. 1, 2.
I'm going to get you the flashlight.
Okay. Testing. 1, 2.
Good morning.
So I think we're gonna have that, and I would imagine. Sure. That's not how they set this up.
When I was working, I knew I was traveling too much when I was known by first name to the air crews
Yes.
on the routes that I flew.
You want to manipulate this?
Yeah, we just have one item. Can I get to PowerPoint? Let's see, and if not, I have my laptop.
Side in. I'm gonna put a thing here.
Few days.
Years, huh?
4 years.
You came over here for that?
How many people do you think will be here this morning? What's a
Could be one,
typical?
could be 20.
Got it.
Less than 36.
We actually
Less
have
than
no idea.
36? Right on.
No, that's what the sign says.
Depends on how enthralled they are to make a public comment. Depends on how enthralled they are to make a
Hi.
public
It
comment.
depends on who enforces the rule. The rules are you're supposed to have 5 minutes. That can take a month.
He has been doing that.
I beat on him for a
Looks
while.
like you don't need any help.
You got wet.
Yeah, it only starts raining when I go outside. Sun will come out anytime now. Here.
Charlie, do you have PowerPoint by itself?
Some yesterday.
Hey, Charlie?
And I turned around, and I was almost blind. I was in that ribbon there.
Because you have no choice.
There were a whole bunch of stars.
Might be.
All right,
Charlie, you and I have to talk.
Yeah. All right, folks, let's get going here.
I'll be right back.
Before we get started, guys, we just kind of set the mics because it's such a small room.
Yeah.
If anybody needs any louder, just pick up a hand mic.
Okay.
Yes, that is mine.
Okay. Charlie, be good?
It's fine, it's just done.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Easy for you to say.
Jeff, you may sit. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. Just for the record, this is not an official board meeting. It's actually a presentation that we wanted to put together on behalf of the Deeley Insurance Group, who are our new brokers, and we felt it'd be a great opportunity for them to present all the information that they've gathered over the past several months to kind of give everybody an indoctrination into the new environment. So from a public comments perspective, unless there are any public comments, and given that it's a special meeting, that the public comments are limited to the topic on the meeting agenda, I'll open the floor for public comments in case there are any. All right, seeing none, we'll move right into the presentation. First of all, I'd ask the folks from Deeley to stand up, introduce yourselves one at a time, grab a microphone here so everybody that's being recorded can hear you. And I will turn, they have a presentation for us today, so I will turn the meeting over to them, and they can move forward with it. So, folks.
So, good morning. My name is Laura Bren. I'm the president of Deeley Insurance Group. What we'll do is we'll kind of talk a little bit about who each of our players are. You could probably click through because we have a little overview of who the people are. So just Deeley Insurance Group, we're an independent agency. Our main office is located in the booming metropolis of Willards, Maryland. So if you've driven to Salisbury, we're that big brick building on the right-hand side. So that is where our office is located. We're licensed in 26 states. We have about 63 employees that work with us to help deliver service on behalf of businesses and families across Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia is really our core market. We have about 4,000 commercial clients, 500 of which are community associations and homeowners associations. We have about 11,000 individuals and families that we provide homeowners insurance for, not only for primary homes, but also secondary homes as well. And as far as what our specialties, we would be called generalists as independent insurance agents. We represent our clients. We have a multitude of carriers that we can go to. But our specialties really are community associations, transportation, long-haul trucking, hospitality, and coastal property. So meet your Deeley team. You can ask the folks from Ocean Pines. When Deeley comes, Deeley rolls deep. We typically have a team of people that are working. Michelle and I sat in the car this morning. To date, we've had 14 people that have actively been working on the Ocean Pines Association account, whether it's the claims review, preparing marketing submissions, doing the analysis that we've prepared with the deep dive with the board. Again, I'm Laura Bren. I'm the president of the firm. Been with the company for 18 years. I'm second generation and partners with my father in the company. So, do you have a microphone?
Oh, sorry. I am, is this even on? I don't even think we do.
You gotta have it on.
Okay. There we go. Hello, my name is Megan Muller, and I am a client advisor and one of the 14 people that have been working on the Ocean Pines account, and I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
I think it's me next. So I'm Cindy Hall. I'm the Vice President of Sales at Deeley Insurance. I've been with Deeley for 14 years. I've been in the Ocean Pines community since 11th grade. So I'm near and dear and super excited for the fact that we're finally going to get to participate in the community that so many of our associates work in and live in. So we're really, really glad to be here.
Oh.
Good morning. I'm Michelle Hoffman. I am the Commercial Lines Manager at Deeley Insurance. Been doing this for about 30 years, and I'm really excited to work with the team at Ocean Pines Association and everything that we have planned to do for you guys going forward.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Esham. I've been at Deeley for just about 5 years now. I come from a community association background. I'm the community association advisor. So I'm a dedicated resource to just the community or homeowners associations that we insure. I also really love flood insurance and how it works. So someone has to love on it, so that would be my role in the company.
Thank you. Sure.
Is this presentation going to be available in hard copy or otherwise on internet that we could reference?
Why don't you email us a copy and we'll post it on our website?
Absolutely. Yep. Keisha Jones is not with us today, but Keisha is our claims specialist. So she works very actively throughout the process of managing claims and serves as an advocate for our clients as well. She also helped us support the detailed loss analysis that we prepared for the board of directors. So just a little bit about Deeley. So one of the things that makes us a little bit different is just at our core, and I'm not going to go through each one of these, but when we select members of our team, we really make sure that we align. Are we okay? That we make sure that we focus on these are the kinds of people that we show up. So if you have this in your heart, these are the people that are on our team. So this is a really important piece to us, is our core values. And secondly, this is what we stand behind. So this is the core driving mission of how we show up, how we deliver on behalf of our clients. We care, we get personal, we're real, we grow forward, and we want to make sure our clients can be sure that they're protected and they're covered. Just a couple agency recognitions. We've been recognized by Business Insurance Magazine as a best workplace in insurance. We've received automation and technology awards from NetView through Accelerate, which is one of our trade vendors. And we also serve on numerous advisory councils for insurance partners. I serve on Nationwide's council and also Travelers Insurance Agency of the Future workshop and conference as well. The other thing that I think is interesting about our team, and not only do we do the work on the insurance side, but we make sure that we show up in the community. So we have an organization called Deeley Serves. It's all employee-led and employee-driven. We give them a budget, and not only do we write checks and support things in the community, but we also serve in the communities that we live and do business in. So these are just some examples. We came in 3rd in the Berlin bathtub races last year. It was our first showing. We're fiercely competitive, and we will be back. So make sure in June you're there to cheer on Deeley. So now I'm going to pass it off to Cindy, and she can talk a little bit about the process that we've been through working with OPA and give you a little insight into where we are in just the very beginning stages of our relationship.
So thank you very much. And first of all, I'll take one for the team, and I'm going to do the golf tournament in Ocean Pines this year as part of being part of the community. So we've had quite a busy project in the last couple of months working with Ocean Pines and the team. So first of all, in February is when we got notice that we were elected to be the insurance broker agent for Ocean Pines. So we had quite a few commitments when we sat there and told you all what we were and what we intended to do. So our first charge was to review the information that you currently had, the policies that were in place. So that was one aspect. The next was that we did, with fresh eyes, reviewed all of the different properties, the different risks, the exposures, all of that, that we made it so that we were a new set of eyes again, looking at it fresh, so that we would review, but then we would also start from the beginning, like we weren't looking at any of the documentation. So with that process, what we did was we arranged meetings. It was over a 2-week period. So Melissa, Michelle, Megan met with all of the department heads. They looked at the properties, they reviewed information, they looked at the details. So of all of the different policies for each department. So that was really important. And then we also came back with, because one of the other commitments is what was going to be our involvement when we had carriers, or if there was, if you had risk control or loss control, if you had appointments with any of the carriers, what was our charge as an agency? What would we do? So we already have acted on that in the beginning, and when the carriers that were looking at Ocean Pines, we then came back to the property with those carriers and escorted them, if you will, on their risk analysis. So we already started on some of the action steps that we had committed to doing. You know, and then obviously what we needed to do was do a marketing process. So we took it out to all the various markets that we could with all the information that we had. And one of the other things that was really important is we wanted to look at any of the claims and do a complete analysis as far as how that impacted Ocean Pines, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And then, of course, we had to do the proposal, which is what we have presented, and then give a tentative structure for a service plan. So what's really important is we don't just show up when we renew the insurance. What we try and do is make sure that we're part of the process throughout the year so that we're working with the various departments. And I think these guys can attest to the fact that they've already had some fantastic relationships with some of the department heads. And I have to give Steve a hats off, and also Colby too, and Michelle, because Michelle helped orchestrate a lot of that. But there wasn't one person that wasn't willing to meet with us and give us the information that we needed. They were super cooperative, and that made the process fantastic for us. So probably one of the most important things, and Melissa attested to the fact that she loves floods here over there smiling. So one of the most important things that we started with was when we reviewed the current information that you had, we had to analyze that and see if that was effectively written and if there were ways that we could work on those. So flood was one of them that Melissa tackled. And we're really proud to say that with the different mapping and changing, and I won't give her the mic because we'd be here all day on this, but she absolutely, she dug in. And what happened with that is she looked at the way that the policies were written and the different zonings, and she was able to get back, and Steve has already received the refund back of over $16,000. So that was on the prior policy terms. So that was important that you all note that that was our first 3 weeks that we were involved in the process. So we were super pleased with that. So thanks to Melissa, we were able to work on getting you savings before we even presented the first. Yeah. So and then one of the other opportunities, and I'm going to let Megan talk a little bit more about this, but one of the opportunities that we had was on the workers' comp. Ocean Pines is a unique space with the fact that you have a police department. And so one of the things that we are going to commit to support is how we help Ocean Pines work on the two factors that affect your workers' comp, and that's severity of a claim and frequency of claims. And so those are things that we can help talk to, and we had talked to the board that we are going to work with the various departments on some of the strategies that we can do, not just today, but moving forward, because that's going to take some activity to help bring some of those pieces under control. And so then, Megan, do you want to take over now and go in? Okay. Do you want to stand, or you want?
I'm going to sit if everyone's agreeable to that.
Oh,
you can use this mic. Thank you. Okay. Okay, can everyone hear me? We're good? Okay. A little bit closer. All right, here we go. Broadcasted. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I am going to run through the current coverage, or the coverages we're proposing, and just give you a little bit of detail, and we'll start with the property. So this is with Philadelphia Insurance as well as Lloyd's of London. The total insured values are a little bit over $25 million with a $10,000 deductible. Flood, as we just spoke about, is with Selective Insurance and Lloyd's of London. The total insured values is about $7.7 million, and the deductibles range from $1,250 to $2,000. General liability will be with Philadelphia Insurance. There is a $2 million occurrence and $4 million aggregate. This also houses the $1 million limit for your employee benefits liability. The association liability, this includes your directors and officers and your employment practices liability. The carrier is CNA. There is a $2 million occurrence $2 million aggregate. And what's nice about this policy is the additional defense limit of $2 million sits outside of your occurrence. The deductible is $25,000 on this. Your fiduciary liability is with travelers. There is a $1 million occurrence and aggregate limit. And again, this is a nice policy where the defense sits outside of that limit and you have an additional $1 million. Your auto is with Philadelphia Insurance Company. There's a combined single limit of $1 million, and this also houses the hired and non-owned, which is an important coverage. Your crime is with Philadelphia and Hartford. The total limits are $3.15 million for employee theft and forgery and alteration. There are also some other coverages for money and securities inside and outside of the premises, and that is for $50,000 respectively. $10,000 for computer fraud, $75,000 for money orders, and then we have a kidnap, ransom, and extortion. Hopefully we never have to use it, for $25,000, and there is a $2,000 deductible. Your cyber liability is with Access Insurance Company. There is a separate limit for first party and third party at $1 million each with a $5,000 deductible. Your inland marine is with Philadelphia Insurance Company. It's a little bit over $2.8 million in equipment schedule. And then we have about $100,000 for your unscheduled equipment. This also houses your hardware and software for your computers. $600,000 for hardware, $900,000 for software. All of it has a $1,000 deductible. Your police professional is with Hudson Insurance Company, $3 million each person, $3 million each law enforcement wrongful act, and there's an annual aggregate of $3 million as well with a $10,000 deductible. Your Marina operators legal liability. I'm excited about boating season. This is with Travelers. The occurrence is $1 million, and the protection and indemnity, including legal and investigative expenses, $1 million as well. Your storage, tank, and pollution liability is with Crum and Foster. You have a $1 million each occurrence as well as aggregate with a $15,000 deductible. Your camp liability with National Casualty. Each occurrence is $1 million, my apologies. Each legal liability to participants is $1 million. And then the abuse or molestation is an important coverage, and you have a $1 million occurrence, $2 million aggregate. Your workers' compensation is with Chesapeake Employers. Each accident, disease policy limit, and disease for each person or employee is $500,000 each. Your umbrella is with QBE as well as Philadelphia, and there is a $10 million limit for aggregate and occurrence with a $10,000 retention. So the premium summary. All policies, we broke it out, all policies excluding workers' compensation, you will see a decrease in premium, workers' compensation, a little bit of an increase that we are tackling for an overall premium of $461,247. Yes, 247.
So I can talk just one other little thing and then we can go from,
Turned off.
go to one more slide.
This one.
And the other piece that we just wanted to add, the same level of service and attention that we give on the commercial line side, we also have a private client team. So on the personal line side, if you have any questions or concerns about your personal lines insurance, we have members of our team on the screen, and then we also have a takeaway card that has all of their contact information as well. So that's part of our team. And that is the 10,000-foot view, which we've been asked to stay at the 10,000-foot view. How would you like us to proceed from here?
So if there's any questions based on the information you've presented, we certainly can do it now in open forum, or if nobody has any pressing questions from a public perspective and they want to meet with any of the individuals from the Deeley Insurance Group after the meeting, you're certainly more than welcome to do so. So I'd invite anybody to ask any questions they may have regarding the presentation, or maybe even a request for additional information if you still got some questions on certain areas.
The driver for the
Gene, we're being recorded. Give Gene a mic.
The primary driver for the increase in 404,000 to 461 was the what was that? The primary driver?
That's your workers' compensation.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. And so that's driven by the claims experience in the last 2 years.
Laura, I have a question. The limits, the coverage, how were these values determined? Is that industry standards? Was that taken from an existing policy that OPA had? How was that determined?
Good question. So where we started was looking at the current coverages that you had. As a side note on the general liability, last year you had $1.2 million, and for very similar pricing structure, we got it to $2.4 million. So we've already doubled your primary general liability limit. There are some opportunities, we believe, to consider some higher limits, your police professional, some opportunity perhaps in your camp programs, and also to look at the directors and officers liability. And those are things that we're looking at from a budget standpoint in future years. So back to what Cindy was saying as well, as far as this isn't kind of like we come in 1 year, we do an audit, and then we move on. We're trying to be respectful of what are the most critical items that we need to help work with management and the board of directors on. We, at this time, believe it's the workers' compensation because it's driving such a significant cost. So we want to spend a lot of our time on working on that piece. And then quickly behind it, we believe camps is the next opportunity. But we have identified a couple of places where we might be able to increase some limits as well. And we've provided pricing for that.
So what I'm hearing is forward planning, which is fantastic. My next question is, where does, or how does the total cost of insurance compare to what we were paying? Is this going to an increase?
Yep, so if you go back a slide, Megan. So this on the right, on the left was your expiring at 404,379. So again, we wanted to break out the workers' comp so you can really see the cost driving. So we were able to deliver about a 4% reduction for all of the policies except for the workers' comp. Those were ones we were able to transition and move. The workers' comp, unfortunately, with the trend that we have currently and some significant exposures that just exist in your community for employees, the market, number one, is limited, and two, we've got to really work on the trend so that you become more marketable in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me add too, and one of the takeaways I think that hopefully everybody gets is that throughout this process of the Deeley Insurance Group folks talking with the folks at OPA, what's the sort of the byproduct has been something of a partnership. In other words, the forward thinking, Mike, that you had mentioned is there, and they actually are promoting that. So one of the things that in a previous meeting was saying, how do we look at the drivers that are having an effect on the cost of workman's comp, or the things that we should be looking at. And, that's the kind of partnership I call the value add that you're getting out of this with regard to not just saying, hey, here's the policy, here's the covers, write us a check, and thank you. There's an ongoing effort over, as we develop this relationship with Deeley to continue to look at the different areas where we can either be, A, more efficient in coverages for the same price, or B, reduce factors that are causing us to have those kinds of claims and the things that are driving that additional cost. So, I think that, again, as a summary, the takeaway is this is a partnership for the long term, which is a good thing.
I have a question. Go ahead. No, go back there, that's fine.
Okay, I got a question on the house.
Oh, wait, you're on.
Got a question on the house. If I got 3 big trees right on the property line, if they fall, who pays for them, me or my neighbor?
Oh gosh, see? So number one, I'm the business insurance girl, so that's my first thing. But I will get you an answer with our claims team.
Yeah, but, well, one thing, I've never seen a neighbor. When they
Never
had the
seen a
auction in
neighbor.
Ocean Pines, I forget, about 20 years ago, these properties were all sold, but no one's ever been there since. I know the owner, but I've never seen him. But about once every 2-3 months, his kids would come by and stay for a day. But the 2-3 trees are right on the property line, 15 feet from my house to his. Those trees, one of them's going to fall. It's been dead for 10 years, and it's a good-sized tree.
So I'm going to.
If I don't want to pay to have it cut down,
Yeah.
and I don't even know him. When it falls, if it hits my house, am I out of luck?
So I'm going to let Michelle take it. she was chiming. I'm the business side. Go ahead.
So I haven't been on the personal line side for a while, but my understanding is how that would be handled. If the tree falls and lands on your house, your personal insurance is going to cover the cost of removing it from your house to the ground.
Well, you know the trouble with that? I don't have any insurance on my house.
Well, then we're going to help you get
Then we need to get you some insurance on your house.
Beach, at the auction, I paid $1,500 for that lot. Beach gave me the house free as long as I let him have it for 10 years. He built it, he kept it for 10 years, I got it back.
Okay.
And so I didn't pay anything for the house, but I've never had insurance on it, ever.
Okay, so if you don't have insurance on the house and the tree falls on your house, you're going to have to pay for that.
Can I sue his house with half of the tree?
Only if there's negligence. So any insurance, when it comes to how it pays out, it's either property insurance, so you would have to have insurance for your home, or the reason the tree fell, there has to be negligence from your neighbor. So if your neighbor did something that was grossly negligent to make the tree fall, i.e. taking a chainsaw and hacking it down and it falls on your house, he would be negligent, and then we could go under his policy for liability coverage.
I think that tree's gonna be at another 10 years.
Okay.
And since I'm 85, I'll probably be dead before then, so.
And then if the tree falls and it falls on your property, you're gonna have to pay to remove it. If a tree falls and it falls onto his property, he would pay to remove it. Unless there's gross negligence.
It's a little confusing to me, so I don't know who's gonna pay for it. I'm just hoping it never falls.
Let's just hope it never falls. And if it does, let's hope it doesn't fall on your house.
Pardon?
And if it does fall, let's hope it doesn't fall on your house.
Okay. Well, if you want to change one insurance policy, can I tell you one I have? It's on automobiles. I got an old truck I don't use. It sits in my driveway. It's been there a long, long time. But I want to use it. If my car breaks down, I got an old car, if it breaks down, I'll start driving the old truck again. But I have to pay for insurance on that truck I've never used in 5 years. But you have to pay insurance because I have a historic tag on the old truck. As long as I have that truck in my driveway, he says I have to pay for it, the insurance. And that's $300 a year. So Geico's made a lot of money on my truck that I never use.
He who shall not be named, we said Geico. No. So one of the things that's cool, and I'll talk about technology and insurance coming up, is that personal lines insurance carriers are starting to evolve to the number of miles you drive. So in the future, when they start to give you a smart mile technology and those types of things, you only pay for the mileage that you use to address that situation. Now, the converse is, in order to get that kind of experience or customer experience, you're going to put something in your vehicle so they know how many miles you drive. So it's that give and take, because now they know where you are and how many miles you're doing and those types of things. So to address that issue, that is something that carriers are starting to look at.
Well, I would just junk the old truck, have somebody come and get it, and they can have it. And you want an old truck, come to the driveway. So you're not going to drive it, because I'm going to take the tag off.
I don't want the truck.
I would just, it don't cost $300 a year, so
Yeah.
it's not going to kill me. But it's a historic tag. It's good for 2 more years.
Yeah.
So I hate to sort of just turn the tag in, you know.
Right. But we can help you insure the house if you want. Yes, sir.
You know how you could do it? Cut the tree down for me.
We could probably get you in contact with some tree companies. I'm sure maybe there's some listening today.
Just for my edification.
Yes, sir.
Which means I don't know what you're talking about. When you said in a couple of the insurances there was some coverage that sits outside the policy, can you explain that in terms an accountant would understand?
So there's a limit of insurance for the Oh, sorry, I forgot. It's on. Okay, so there's a limit of insurance for the act, and then the defense limit sits outside. So if you have a $1 million occurrence and it costs $500,000 in the defense, it's not going to come from the initial $1 million.
Okay.
You have a separate $1 million to pay for that.
Thank you very much.
And just to add to that, so there's some policies where defense is unlimited. So the defense just sits out and it can go completely out to the limits. So that's kind of the differentiation, is whether when you have those additional limits, they don't want it to erode your $2 million limit for the D&O. They give you kind of like a sidecar to give you the defense coverage on the side.
If I may, if not related to the question I just asked, another question is, what is it that you're covering when you say you're covering software? I'm not.
So the association owns a lot of assets that are both hardware and software to run the organization. So like the equipment that's behind us and different things that run the organization. So we just define software within the office and the admin and some of the point of sale systems as well that we own. So that's breaking that out separate because it's not a building and it's a more specific business personal property.
Intangible asset, right? So, but what are you covering? Are you covering that it doesn't work right, or?
Oh, good question. So it's typically still going to be if there was some sort of error in it or problem related to it. So it's not going to be your cyber security issues. That's going to fall more in our cyber liability policy. But it's more specific coverages that might happen when we have problems related to those softwares.
So if we had a problem with the software that wasn't our fault, it was the software design or whatever that caused us to have to pay more to somebody for some problem or whatever, that insurance would cover that?
So no, so this is going to be a first part. That's okay. So it's and the thing, we actually had a little side conversation earlier. It's so challenging at times. Some claims discussions can be very, I don't want to say black and white, but more typical. But sometimes the nuances of all the contractual language and what actually happened, it can be hard to get into that piece. But if it's helpful, what I could do is I could share with the board a handful of claims examples that are very concrete, so it might help to solidify how the software coverage shows up.
Take up a lot of people's time. If everybody else understands it, then I could do this offline.
Go ahead.
So a good example would be if lightning struck the building and took out the entire hardware and the software and you lost your data. That coverage helps to replace not only the hardware, but the software and the recreation of data that you would need to recreate.
Okay, good. So I could understand if the computer melts or something like that, but it just...
And it's a first-party physical. It's a first-party physical damage to your hardware and software, not contingent type losses that can happen to other things as a result of that. So it's just fixing your stuff.
Okay.
We're going to fix your stuff and get you new hardware and software.
If there was some consequential damage other than that, you're not fixing that consequential damage.
Gosh, I'd have to read the form.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's a good question.
If lightning struck and it made a computer catch on fire and then the building caught on fire, all of
that's fire.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
One more thing on that tree.
Yes.
It wouldn't be
So the EDP would cover the software, the electronic data, equipment policies, but then the property policy would cover the fire.
Can you give me just one other example of just the software piece?
Would this also cover theft of the software? So theft would be covered from a crime standpoint. So that's something that you own, and so the parallel theft is property that you would own.
Microphone. Microphone. We got an extra one up here, so pass that around.
Theft would be the actual coverage where someone stole it. So it's property that has been stolen. To Michelle's point, it's the actual hardware or software if it has the physical damage.
What would be a claim for just the software? Give me an example.
You lose the ability, so something happens and you lose the ability, lightning strikes and you lose the ability to be able to use the software anymore. It would pay to replace the software and expenses to replace the data that you would have within the software.
So one more thing on that tree. Hey, here's what happened. Allstate is now advertising that, I can't remember what the advertisement is, but it has to do with what I'm talking about. Because they had Allstate, a tree fell on one of my houses. I called Allstate Insurance. They said, we don't pay for that. God caused that. God caused that tree to blow down. We have nothing to do with it. I said, do me a favor. I'm coming to your office. I'm canceling both my insurance policies tomorrow. They're advertising that down today.
Got it.
That's Allstate's advertising on the radio today.
Okay.
I have a question for
Yes,
you.
sir.
So you've spent a lot of time, your team, traveling around Ocean Pines and getting familiar with our various amenities and all of that. What do you provide in the area of helping us to manage risk with so many different activities and sites and marinas and all that? I think we have a lot of exposure. So how do we minimize risk, and what do you do ongoing to help us to do that?
So again, this is a marathon, not a sprint, which I've shared with both the board and management in being respectful of time and resources. So the very first thing that we're going to do, tied to the workers' comp, is you already have wonderful resources that you get with your insurance carriers and loss control specialists and very, very deep resources. Sometimes where there can be a gap is how we can help as agents to steward that process and move that process forward. So what we want to do so that we don't have to spend external money or spend external resources is leverage all the resources that we have from our carriers and then make sure that we follow through with them to implement the plans and the strategies that have been laid out. So again, the very first one that's important is the workers' comp because it's driving so much cost. Philadelphia Insurance, who's handling the general liability, so those are the types of exposures I think you're alluding to with the amenities and the marinas and those types of things. Each one of these carriers will perform loss control visits. So Philadelphia has already been down once, and our team took them to the various sites. And so out of that will come step one was, are we comfortable with the exposure as it exists, and we're willing to take on the risk? So that's what we've gotten to in step one, and then they put together a proposal for us and identified that opportunity. Step two is, do you see anything that makes you uncomfortable, opportunities for us to explain, to make improvements, and then that's kind of the next plan that we put together. We believe there's an opportunity, and sometimes it can be just the simplest thing. It might be something with the way you have a relationship with something very small, that if we just think about, well, we could transfer that risk where right now we're holding it ourselves. So we've already identified a couple of opportunities of places where we could take a very simple change operationally and transfer some risk to another party, and then that can shift the responsibility away from OPA and to a third party. So those are the types of things that we can work on throughout the course of the next 12, 24, 36 months.
Can you give me an example of one of these places that you've identified? Is that possible? I don't know if that's allowed or not.
Camps?
Go ahead, yeah, camps.
Camps, okay. So in the camps, so I have to laugh, it's moon bounces, right? So moon bounces, right? They're like the challenge for insurance. It's like the, oh gosh, insurance agency, moon bounces and trampolines, and our hearts all just go, ah. So we have two ways that we, there's two ways that we handle moon bounces with OPA currently. There are some times where we have contracts with vendors that provide their own staff, their own people. They come in and they set up the moon bounce. In that situation, the risk has been completely transferred contractually away. There's other times where we might rent the equipment, set it up ourselves, and we don't have the ability to transfer that risk. So that's just one simple thing. It's just in the travels that these three ladies have done in working with the teams and saying, so tell me what you do here. I mean, that's really, it's risk management, but it's very simple. It's just saying, what do you do? And trying to figure out opportunities to make little tweaks that could have really big impact. So that would be just one example in the camps. And then what's interesting too about that is once you kind of make that tweak, when you go out to the market, you've changed the risk or the character of the risk, and so then you can open up additional markets that might entertain it. Because one guy might go, oh, I'm out on the moon bounces. But if I can prove that on every moon bounce event that we have, that we've contractually transferred the risk, it then makes you a better opportunity in the market to leverage. That makes sense? We will not be canceling moon bounces. I will not be the insurance agent that kills fun. So that is not going to happen. Yes. Yes, thank you.
Laura, I have a question about playground equipment. Do you guys look at the playground equipment in terms of its compliance with standards?
I may let Melissa take that one.
So we've done 2 inspections of the playgrounds. Eddie was helpful enough to put 2 entire days aside. So we've looked at every park. There is also a great representative, and when we were here with Philly doing those inspections, Ocean Pines pays someone to inspect those parks so that they meet a certain criteria. as soon as the carrier heard that, they knew that you were in a safe place. Then we showed them the parks, and the parks have all the proper signage. They have the proper depth of mulch, and they're looking, and their signage actually says the appropriate age for the kids that should be at that location. So as I have to commend management for making sure when they're putting in those play equipments that they really are doing it the proper and best risk management way is the only way I can say that.
And is some portion of the risk transferred to those inspectors that we hire?
No.
We carry it all.
You carry it
Any other questions? Well, if not, from Ocean Pines, on behalf of the board, I thank the folks from the Deeley Insurance Group. Look forward to this partnership as we go forward. We've got some opportunities here to get the, use the term, I don't know if this is proper to use it in insurance, but we right-size our insurance coverage to meet the needs that we have. And I think, based on what I've heard and also with some of the questions, we're going to have an evolving environment, and I think we've got the right people in place to help us, change and, modify our insurance coverages as our community evolves too. So we're looking forward to this. Any final words from you guys?
Just that we appreciate the opportunity, and again, special thanks to Steve and Colby and the team. And Michelle. I mean, they have been exceptional in working through this process because we have commanded a great deal of their time in their already busy schedule. So I just wanted to say thank you. You're in great hands. So thank you for that.
Thank you, everyone.